Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Honest Left. Now, today I want to make a educational style video, I guess. This is going to be Why America is Not a Democracy, Part 1. Now, Part 1, I'm just going to be covering the primary process, the voting as far as the primary process goes. And then in Part 2, I'll cover the Electoral College and all of that fun stuff. Let's get right into it. Now, right off the bat, it's very easy to see why America is indeed not a democracy. It's because delegates. It's because we have delegates. Now, when you go to vote in a primary process, you are not picking the nominee. The delegates are picking the nominee. Now, each state has a different way to kind of divide up delegates. So in some states, they'll divide it up based on population of a district. Now, a district is decided kind of by the government, basically. And in a lot of cases, there's a practice called gerrymandering where districts are redrawn, and yeah, it's great. Now, each district is kind of divided up against the two political parties. And so, one state might have, say, 6 or 7 districts, and in a perfect world, 3 of those 6 districts would be Democratic and the other 3 would be Republican. That's not always the case. And in this gerrymandering practice, some Democrats might say, okay, yeah, the Republicans can have an extra district because that'll make our districts more Democratic. And then we will, in turn, re-win elections over and over and over again. Sounds nice to me. In the United States, there are 435 congressional districts, and each state, like I said, each state has a different number of districts. I can only find stats from the 2000 census for some reason, but in 2000, California held the most congressional districts, which makes sense because they had the largest population. They had 53 congressional districts, and there were a number of states that only had 1 congressional district, including Wyoming and Delaware. And so, like I said, each district will have a certain number of delegates to give out. And some states base this on the population of the district, and other states just say that every district gets the same amount of delegates. So you could have a district with 30,000 people living in it, and a district with 1 million people living in it, and they would both have 5 delegates. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Each state also has, they don't all have a different way of voting, but there are 2 popular ways of voting in a primary. One of them is a normal primary. So on the voting day, you can go to the poll at any time, whenever you can, and you can vote. You go into a private booth and you tick a box, or you press on a screen, or whatever you do, and that's how you would cast your vote. But some states like to do this awful thing called a caucus. And a caucus is when everybody in a district has to go to the same place at the same time and in front of everyone decide who they're voting for. And they literally will walk to one side of the room for one candidate and the other side of the room for the other candidate, and then they'll sit and argue with each other for a while until they come to a census decision, and then they pick the candidate that way. Now, this is just awful. And you saw it in the Iowa caucus this year, where they literally flipped a coin to decide the candidate, and the coin flip was so blatantly rigged. Here's a clip of that. And if a caucus isn't just awful enough for you, some states hold what is called a closed primary. Now, a closed primary is a primary, so you can go and vote at any time, but you can only vote for the party you were registered for. So if you're an independent and you want to go vote for a Democrat, well, that sucks. You should have registered as a Democrat. Now, closed primaries are pretty few and far between. Most primary states hold an open primary where anybody over the age of 18 can go vote for whoever they like. But just the idea of a closed primary it makes me grind my teeth. It's such a dumb idea, right? So you could be 18 and register to vote as a Democrat, but then maybe you're 30 years old and you want to switch to being a Republican, well, that sucks for you, doesn't it? That just sucks for you because you're going to have to vote Democrat for the rest of time. And if those ridiculous voting systems weren't enough for you, well, in some states, the district has their number of delegates. And so whomever gets the most votes in that district, the delegates from that district are given to that candidate. But this isn't always the case. In some states, the delegates are just independent of the votes and can just pick whoever the hell they want to. Well, isn't that just great? So say you have a district where overwhelmingly they vote for one candidate. Okay, 75% of the vote goes to this one candidate. And then the delegates are like, well, I don't like that guy. And so they pick someone else. So your vote literally did not matter at all. Fantastic. I love America. I love America. Okay, and then, if that wasn't undemocratic enough, when we get to the national convention for the party, okay, this is when the candidate is decided and introduced and all this other great stuff, okay, at the convention, they have super delegates. You guys remember super PACs and how they were just infinitely worse than normal PACs? Yeah, it's kind of the same case here. And so super delegates are high-ranking members of their party. They could be Congress members or former presidents or whatever you like. And they make up about 20% of the delegate vote at the convention. So in the case that a candidate does not hold the majority of delegates going into the convention, we have what is called a contested convention. And this is where all the delegates and the super delegates, they get together and they argue with each other. Well, they probably don't argue with each other. They probably already know who they're going to select because they're all corrupt and rigged and all that good stuff. But anyways, they go and they argue with each other for a while and then they decide who the nominee is. And so say that a candidate has a plurality. Okay, this means he has more delegates than the other candidate or other candidates, but he doesn't have a majority. So say he's at 49.99% of the delegates, but he's just that 1.01% away from having the majority. And then the delegates and the super delegates say, oh, that sucks. You spend millions of dollars on your campaign. You had all these people donate money to you for your campaign, and you did so well, but that 0.01%, I don't know about that. We're going to pick the other guy. Oh, I love America. Whew. And so, yeah, that's why the primary process is not democratic at all, in a nutshell. In the next video in this series, I'll be covering the Electoral College, and trust me, it gets a lot worse from here. But make sure you like the video if you liked it, subscribe to keep up to date, leave your thoughts on this great undemocratic process in the comments below, and thank you for watching.